it's just my... This is so much smaller than our big Bima. Our egos fit, but our paperwork does not. Can I open this up? Will it mess everything up?
Why do
I don't want to touch the buttons. It's just so tiny. There's not enough space.
I mean, you can. It's just then it really sticks out a lot.
Does it? Does it really stick out that
It
much?
does. Do you remember the time in COVID where he came in here and Jonah had written his name on the thing?
Yes. I don't know if that was COVID. I think it was before.
It was. Oh, no.
He was really, I think he was much more little.
No,
But I guess
it
he was
not.
much more
It
little.
was because he had been practicing in here.
Yes, he was studying for his bar mitzvah. All right, that didn't work.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
It's like a convertible.
This slider right here, be very careful, don't lower it, because
Okay.
that's the reason why Rob...
Oh, excellent. Good to know. All right. So don't touch this thing. So that's what happened last week.
And that's where you should, next time we'll tape it.
Yeah, we're just, well, I mean, only the three of us use it, so.
Yeah, I was like, because the other, being the not, I could do that at a nerves or stupidity, either. This isn't fully locked in, I don't think.
Steht a coat. What's wrong?
Does it almost all feel like you're not invited? I feel like we're not invited. You're so not invited to my bar mitzvah.
That'll be next week's sermon,
Next week's.
right? Do you think? Come on in, everyone. Find a seats.
Well, there are no seats, so find a pew.
Find a pew. Sit close to someone. Here's Liz.
Any pew. Two.
Come on in, everyone. Find a seat.
Sounds like Shabbat already. Like this too?
No, just that one. All right, my friends, welcome. So as
Oh, yeah. The resonance amongst the residents. Wow. This room is unbelievable. Very different. Just so different.
All right, now friends, I do want to point out that it's wonderful that you're sitting so close to each other. You don't have to.
You don't have to.
There
Yeah.
are other pews.
We-
if you'd
we
like to move up,
encourage
it's
peace
cool.
and
You
love
can stay there.
In the world.
The room is a little
It
weighted
feels
this
a
way.
little,
It's
yeah.
okay. It's
I'm
fine.
feeling lopsy-dopsy. I wouldn't load the plane this
We'll
way.
direct everything
Is
to
what
you.
I'm kind of saying.
Okay. All right, my friends, we're going to welcome each other on page 10 by singing the words, Hinei matov umanaim, how good and pleasant it is to sit here together as brothers and sisters, as family and friends. Hinei matov umanaim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matzov umanayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matzov, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matzov, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matzov umanayim, shevet achim gam yachad, hine matzov umanayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Beautiful. Let's try another one that is sort of one of our songs to get us ready for Shabbat. This one is on page 11, second one from the bottom, Ki Eshmera Shabbat. Ki eshmer Shabbat el yishmereni. Ki eshmer Shabbat el yishmereni. Oti leomei yad beino veini. Oti leomei yad beino veini. Ki eshmer Shabbat el yishmereni. Ki eshmer Shabbat el yishmereni. Beautiful. So on this long weekend, we know that people come to services for many different reasons. Some of us are here because we're honoring a loss in our lives. Others are here because we just want to be able to celebrate Shabbat together. Others are here for a simcha. So whatever it is that brings you here this evening, I hope that you find what it is you're looking for. Now, some of the simcha folks on this side, waited a little bit over here, are here because tomorrow Tucker Abelies is becoming bar mitzvah, so it's my pleasure to invite up Zach, Jenny, Sam, and Tucker. Just because you're last in the order doesn't mean that you're not awesome, to come and help us with our candle lighting and our kiddush and motzi. And those things can be found in the beginning of your prayer book on page 2. Right now, this is the lighter that I do not know how to light, so if you want to use the other, oh, look, he's amazing. He's already a bar mitzvah, that's why, yeah. Amen. All right, bar mitzvah boy, how about lifting that cup in the air? Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pri hagafen. Amen. Oh, it's juice. You can, well, okay. All right. And Tucker, you want to grab the challah, or Sam, one of you grab it? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
Amen.
Looks almost too good to eat, but not. Someone has to. Beautiful. So every time that we celebrate Shabbat together, we act as if this time was so special, so amazing that we can feel the angels coming into our midst. And so on page 24, then we sing the words of Shalom Aleichem, welcoming those angels into our homes, into our lives, to add just a little bit of an extra spirit of holiness in this time together. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Asharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem leshalom, Malachei Ashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu ni l'shalom, Malachei Ashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzidchem l'shalom, Malachei Ashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. On page 29, there is one who sings the song of his own life, finding everything within himself. There is one who leaves the circle of herself and sings the song of her people.
There is one whose voice rings with the song of humanity, hoping for the highest perfection. And there is one who rises even higher, uniting with all creatures, with all worlds, filling the universe with song. Nevarech. Let us bless.
And we rise together for the call to worship on page 28. Yai da 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 da. Yai da 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 da. Yai da 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 da. Yai da 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 da. Yai da 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 da. Yai da 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 da. Yai da 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 da. Yai da 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 da. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach, HaMevorach le'olam top of 31.
Praise to you, Adonai, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows.
Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim. As you taught Torah to those whose names I bear, teach me Torah too. Its mystery beckons, yet I struggle with its truth. You meant Torah for me. Did you mean the struggle for me too? Don't let me struggle alone. Help me to understand, to be wise, to listen, to know. Lead me into the mystery. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. And we join in Shema on page 34. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Please be seated. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. We read together on the top of 39. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות עושה פלא, נורא תהילות עושה On page 43, it says, "Give us a place to rest, Adonai, our God. Bring us into shelter in the soft, long evening shadows of your truth." Those words in Hebrew are the Hashkivenu on page 42. And this is one of these songs that we sing a little bit of different English every week. So if you know the English, join along. If not, we invite you to join in the Hebrew or just sing a little lie, 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 whatever words are in your heart. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, l'shalom, v'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim, ufros aleinu sukat shalom
Lecha, ufrosh aleinu sukat shlomecha. Amen.
Shelter us beneath thy wings.
Shelter us beneath thy wings. O Adonai, guard us from all harmful things. O Adonai, keep us safe throughout the night, till we wake with morning's light. Teach us, God, wrong from right. Amen. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, v'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim.
And we turn together now to page 46, and I invite you to rise as we join together in words of tefillah.
Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi agitayin latecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Chastei Avot v'Imahot, U'Mevig Ula Livnei V'neihem, L'ma'an Shemo Ba'ava, Melech Ozer U'Mashiach U'Magen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Avraham V'Ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol Atah Rav Lehoshia, Mechakel Chayim Bechesed, Mechayeh HaKol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim V'Ofech Olim, Umatzir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Michamocha Ba'al Gevurot, Umidol Melach, Melech Mimit Umechaye, Umatzmich Yeshua, V'ne'eman Atah Lechayot HaKol, Baruch Atah Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'chol yom yalelucha selam. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh.
Please be seated. We continue on the top of 55.
May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise.
Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. On page 59, God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth which day by day sustains us. For all these and more we offer thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulecha na'eh lahodot. And on page 61, I invite you to read with me in the English at the top. Grant us peace, your most precious gift, O eternal source of peace, and give us the will to proclaim its message to all the peoples of the earth. Bless our country as a safeguard of peace, its advocates among the nations. May contentment reign within our borders, health and happiness within our homes. Strengthen the bonds of friendship and fellowship among all the inhabitants of every land. Plant virtue in every soul. May the love of your name hallow every home and every heart. Baruch atah Adonai, hamvarech et amo Yisrael b'shalom. We know that people come here sometimes for prayers of peace, sometimes for prayers of thanks, but more often than not, the people who come to this space are here because there is someone in their life who is ill and they want to offer a healing prayer. So if there's someone who you're thinking of at this time who could use prayers of healing and who would appreciate knowing that their names were shared here, I would invite you to say them at this time. Thank you. We're thinking too tonight of Arlene Alper, of Peter Cohn and Harold Garber, Marcia Gellerman, of Drew Patchen, of Lisi Weinstein and Ellen Weiss. Thinking of each of them and the names that we're saying to ourselves, we offer on page 253 these words of healing prayer. Mishaberach.
Mishaberach Avotenu Mekor Bracha Leimortenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishaberach imotenu mekor bracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. Ose shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'yakol Yisrael ve'imeru amen. Ose shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'yakol Yisrael ve'imeru amen. Ose shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'yakol Yisrael ve'imeru amen.
So this is a very busy time on many of our calendars. We have a lot of young folks here tonight, which means that many of you have just started back in school. So Mazel Tov, I'm sorry, whichever one you feel about school this way, but it's same for the parents. It's an early wake up. So school started, and also, you may have forgotten, but Rosh Hashanah 2 weeks from tonight, so it's also a kind of big time on the Jewish calendar. But also on our Jewish calendar here in St. Louis, we also just started the Intro to Judaism class. And this is this amazing class. I know there are many of you actually in here tonight who have taken it at some time or another, but this is a 16-week course that people take if they're learning about Judaism for any reason. So sometimes it's just a refresher. You want to learn something that maybe you forgot when you were in Sunday school, or sometimes you are maybe in a relationship with someone who is Jewish, or maybe you are thinking about converting. But no matter what, when we teach this class, and we've been teaching it now for 17 years, which is a pretty long time, I will tell you that one of the questions that always comes up is at some point, someone wants to know, what does it mean that the Jews are called the chosen people? And I can tell you that every time we have taught this, and every time that I've talked about it here, I always tell the same midrash, the same story. So some of you have heard this before, but in case you haven't, it's a good one. So the midrash, and these are Jewish legends that help explain things that maybe we don't understand, the midrash says that in the beginning, the Jews were not going to be the chosen people. God had someone better in mind. And so God went to this one group of people. We're not told what they were called, but God said to this group of people, would you like to be my chosen people? And they were like, sure, that sounds awesome. What do we have to do? And God said, well, I am going to give you 613 commandments. And they said, never mind, we are not interested in being your chosen people. So God goes to the next group of people on the list, and God has learned God's lesson, and God says, would you like to be my chosen people? And they say, sure, tell me about it. And God says, well, there's going to be a few rules, nothing you have to worry about, but there's going to be no stealing, and there's going to be no killing. And they're like, but we love stealing and killing. And so God doesn't choose them. And so the Midrash says that God goes all the way down the list until, the Midrash says, God gets to the lowliest of people. That's us. God gets to the lowliest of people, and God lifts Mount Sinai over their heads and says, would you like to be my chosen people? And they look up and they say, fine, whatever you say, we'll be your chosen people, instead of being smushed. And every time I tell this story, I do it because I think it's important that people recognize that being chosen does not mean that you are being chosen for awesomeness or because it's so easy to be Jewish, because obviously it's not. And I think it's important that people are reminded that even in Jewish tradition, it was understood that being chosen was not necessarily the best thing. But I will say, for all of the times that I have shared that story, I've never really thought about the fact, and I know we have a few lawyers here tonight who will probably agree with me, that the idea of holding Mount Sinai over people's head and expecting them to agree probably means that they have agreed under duress. Is that the correct term? Yes. Okay. So if in fact the Jewish people have only agreed to this because they were about to be smushed if they didn't say yes, somehow makes it a little bit less of a nice story. It somehow makes it seem as if all of our ancestors became Jewish not because they wanted to follow God's laws and they wanted to be God's chosen people, but because they knew that they would die if they didn't do that. And it's interesting because I think that so many of us, maybe not that extreme, right? But I would say quite a lot of us are Jewish, not out of duress, but because we were just told this is how it is. That the vast majority of people who practice Judaism, you're Jewish because your parents were Jewish and your grandparents were Jewish. That someone at some point when you were a baby gave you a Hebrew name, said you are going to become bar mitzvah. Tucker, this date you had 3 years ago, right? Like your parents decided this without asking you, and it was just assumed, of course you're going to do this. Of course you are going to continue, and you are going to be Jewish whether you like it or not. In fact, the only people who don't have that about them are people who convert to Judaism. And that's actually why in Jewish tradition, anyone who converts to Judaism is actually, they are the most respected and honored members of our community. Because we are taught that those people, they made the decision for themselves. There was at no time this idea of duress or anything that says that they were pressured into Judaism. That's why one of the questions that we ask people when they convert, we say, did anyone make you do this? And they say, no, we did it of our own volition. But so for everyone else, what does it mean if, in fact, we're maybe not Jewish because we chose this, but because someone chose it for us? And I will say that as rabbis, we are very much a part of this. You know, we never ask children, do you want to have a Hebrew name? We don't even, I'm sorry to say, ask B'nai Mitzvah students, and I'm sorry for our B'nai Mitzvah students who are here, but, you know, Beckett, if your mom said you can choose, we'd be like, nope, you don't get to, it's your mom's choice. Same with you, Tucker. So that's this idea that we say that really until you become a confirmation student, Sam, you have a year, we assume that you don't get to make this Jewish decision for yourself. Well, the rabbis recognized that there was something very wrong with this. That the idea of thinking that we only became Jewish under duress, only because God lifted a mountain over our heads, that somehow that makes it a little bit less special. And they realized that the answer is actually found in this week's Torah portion. This week's Torah portion is Kitavo. And at this point in the Torah, they are like almost in the promised land. And we're in the book of Deuteronomy. And Deuteronomy, if you've read it before, Deuteronomy is like a recap. It's basically telling everything that has happened in the story of the Israelites so far. And sort of Moses is like, remember that one time when there was manna in the desert? That was so great. And remember that one time where you built the golden calf? That was not so great. So Moses is just retelling the story over and over again. But in this week's Torah portion, God says, through the words of Moses, remember that I gave you this covenant at Mount Sinai, and I give you another covenant today. All of a sudden, there's this second covenant that no one ever talks about. And the truth is that no one describes this covenant as being anything different, but the idea is that at this point in the journey, when they are just moments away from the promised land, it's as if Moses realizes a lot has happened from Sinai until now. And just because the children of Israel were able to accept God's commands and God's yoke of Torah all the way back then, when they were basically, we call them the children of Israel. They were like kids. But now, here they are, almost ready to go into the promised land, and they need a new covenant. A covenant that, in fact, is no different than the covenant they had before. They were going to practice the exact same type of Judaism. They just have to agree to it again. By agreeing to this second covenant, they're able to say, we are choosing Judaism now of our own free will. We are making the decision for ourselves without any pressure. And it seems like maybe this is a lesson that we could use as well. Because the truth is, with the exception of people who have converted to Judaism, the vast majority of us, we probably take our Judaism for granted. We just are Jewish because it's the thing we do, because it's what our parents and our grandparents told us to do. But it's not very often that we say to ourselves, would I still choose this for myself if I had the choice? And in this time of year, when we have exactly 2 weeks until the new year begins, this is a time where we're told that God is perhaps listening to us, paying more attention to us than any other time of year. This is the time maybe when we should be deciding, do we really want to go through this another year? Are we choosing Judaism for ourselves? And if we can make that choice for ourselves, if we can say, I'm not just Jewish because my parents told me I should be, because they picked a bat mitzvah date for me, because I had these Jewish experiences that were given, but rather I'm choosing Judaism for myself, then maybe this will be the year when we can really feel we are putting a new covenant upon ourselves and the new generations to come, reminding them of just what Judaism has to offer. Shabbat Shalom. So, since I mentioned the high holidays, I have to do just our brief high holiday announcements. So, don't forget, 2 weeks from tonight. When? 2 weeks from tonight. Not in here. We'll be in the big room. That's why we're in here now, because we have to set up the big room so that everyone is all prepared. Everyone is welcome to join us for the High Holidays. We do ask that you register online just so that we know who you are and that you're coming, but everyone is welcome. Before then, though, we do have a few things going on. We have our personal care drive, which we're going to do an official kickoff next week. We also have our Slichot back-to-school celebration. It's like a kind of Slichot sort of a thing. Usually Slichot happens like at midnight. Rabbi Michael and I go to sleep at 9, so it's not happening at midnight. It's like a late afternoon sort of a Slichot celebration, but it's also intended really for kids and families, so we hope that you will come and you will join us for that. All the information is right here. And, and the last thing that I would just say is that we're also bringing back the Rosh Hashanah lunch this year, which is a fan favorite here at Temple Israel, and we would love to have you come and join us for that as well. So at this point, I will ask you, if you will, to please rise, and we are going to turn to page 282 for the Aleinu.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה. שלא שמחקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל עמונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד ארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובה מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום השבות אל לבבך, כי אדוני הוא אלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת אינו. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
Our thoughts turn now to those who have departed this earth, our loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death.
And so we recall with love the names of those taken from us in recent days, and our hearts go out to their families in sympathy as we recall their names. Denise Dewaskin, Judge Arthur Litz, Deborah Zarinsky. We now recall the names of those, the anniversary of whose death occurs on this Shabbat, or whose names have been inscribed in the archives of our congregation or on the Wall of Honor for perpetual memorial, or who we're thinking of on this special weekend. Alfred Abeles, Eli Abeles, Margaret Abeles, Frank Altman, Jean H. Altman, Ilsa Altman, Trudy Bain, Esther Lissner-Bensinger, Philip Berman, Dr. Nathan Blackman, Geraldine Waldman Bloomberg, Esther G. Brenner, Ruth Ann Cohen, Sarah Cohen, Esther DeGroot, Mildred L. Arendt, Susan Fadum, Minnie Fuchs Feinstein, David Framer, Marie J. Frankel, Sabina Gelber, Lawrence Larry Goldfarb, Caroline Greger, Herman Hyman, Lorraine Goldberg Hansen, Rabbi Leon Harrison, David Hirsch, Melvin Heller, Fanny Jaffe, Richard Allen Kaiser, Ida Laban Kaufman, Louis Kay, May Sievers Klein, Pearl Safer Lasky, Samuel Lasky, Rebecca Levy, Jenny Schwartz Libman, Muriel Littman, Louise Mandel, Eva Caviar McFall, Charles A. Peltison, Sadie Perlmutter, Milan Price, Bertie Quicksilver, Marion Radman, Dr. Jacob Reeby, Annabelle Richards, Lee Richards, Richard Richards, Betty E. Robinson, Bert Rosenblatt, Janie Ross, Rose B. Sizau, Robert S. Schwartz, Mary S. Seidler, Harry Siegfried, Gladys Singer, Murray Sohn, Florence Steinhauer, Emil Strauss, Florence Terry, Lorraine Tucker, Sam Tucker, Julia Freda Winehouse, Mary Weinstein Waldman, Ben Weisberg, and Leon H. Zeev. So with these names and the name we keep in our hearts, we turn to the words of the Mourner's Kaddish on page 294.
Yitgadal
v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, ba'alma tivarach yirtzeh v'yamlich malchuteh, b'chayachon uvyomechon uvchaye dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv emru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mavarach la'alam omei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitale v'yitala shemei dekudesha baruchu, la'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechmata, damiran ba'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mramav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved. We say, amen. Oseh shalom b'mramav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Please be seated. So for our closing song, on page 321, this is one that we really kind of, I don't know why we only do this one this time of year, because it's like the best. We should do this all the time. So, but we'll join together in the words of, maybe one. The words of Adon Olam. Yeah. Adon Olam, Asher Malach, B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra, Le'enasa B'chefso Kol, Azai Melech Shemo Nikra, Va'acharei Kichlot HaKol, Levado Yimloch Nora, V'hu Haya V'hu Hoveh, V'hu Yeh B'tifara. Adon Olam, Asher Malach, B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra, Le'enasa B'chefso Kol, Azai Melech Shemo Nikra. Va'acharei Kichlot HaKol, Levado Yimloch Nora, V'hu Haya V'hu Hoveh, V'hu Yeh B'tifara. We'll do more on Rosh Hashanah, so you'll have to come back. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.